tell you something about Andrew. This is my boy right here. You disrespect him, you're disrespecting me.
Inside fighting, Sean's inside fighting.
Happy New Year, everybody. It is the Fight Season Podcast. We are in 2024. 2023 is over. It's behind us. And I couldn't be happier to bring in the new year with Inside Fighting's head writer, Timmy Shoes, MMA on X. Timothy James, what's up, man? How are you? Happy New Year, brother.
Good. Happy New Year. It's a whole new year. It's going to be a good one. Lots of amazing fights lined up. I'm really excited. And it's always good talking with Jesse Rowe, our editor-in-chief here at Inside Fighting.
You're too kind. Lots of fights to talk about, but not a lot of fights going on right now, but a lot of fight stories going on. Sort of been, you know when there's not a lot of fights going on, because that's when the MMA news cycle really picks up, because it's kind of like a lot of gossip going on in the world of combat sports, a lot of big dramatic stories happening. But the first thing that we are going to start with is that our man on the scene, Andrew Capucetti, is in Las Vegas, and he was hanging out with Ryan Garcia and Floyd Mayweather. They are partnered up for what? Not quite sure. I think it's just become sort of like a little big brother, little brother friendship of sorts. Floyd sort of showing Ryan the ropes, kind of giving him some advice, showing him the way, and incredible footage. If you haven't seen it, go check it out on our YouTube. I'm going to provide the link in this video. I'm going to obviously break them down a little bit, but really interesting stuff. And we made some news this morning with Floyd saying that Ryan is one of the top 3 names in boxing right now, one of the top 3 stars in boxing.
Other than yourself, is he the biggest viewed boxer in the game right now?
It's some heavy hitters. I mean, it's some heavy hitters in the game right now. When I say some heavy hitters, not many, I should say. But what we really want to say? Right now, in boxing, right now, it's only 3. It's only 3.
Which are?
Canelo,
Facts.
Ryan, and Gervonta Tank Davis.
I agree.
It caused a bit of a frenzy, Timmy. I don't know if you were on boxing Twitter this morning, but I mean, it was all over the place. We were getting tons of mentions on our X account. I keep calling it Twitter. I can't help it. And a lot of people were upset that Terrence Crawford and Tyson Fury weren't thrown into that conversation. Obviously, some people feel like Shakur Stevenson deserves some love. But I have to say, Timmy, I agree with this list, because I'm thinking about pay-per-view sales. I'm not thinking necessarily about the success of their records or their belts or anything like that. I'm talking about strictly pay-per-view. Canelo's the pay-per-view king. Ryan, I think, carried the pay-per-view in the Gervonta Davis fight. I don't know if you would agree with me there, but I kind of think he did. And I think Gervonta's just a draw wherever he goes. What do you think?
I think you're onto something. I think Floyd was talking about the numbers too, not necessarily the skills. Listen, Terrence Crawford might be the best of the bunch just in terms of like skill wise, right? But I don't think that's what Floyd Money Mayweather was talking about. I think he was talking about pay-per-view power, star power. Ryan Garcia's got a huge social media following, and Tyson Fury, maybe if he didn't lose to Francis Ngannou,
Well, really quick, Tyson Fury, but I'm going to let you continue your point. There was that report that came out by Dave Meltzer that the Ngannou Fury fight only had 64,000 pay-per-view sales.
Yep.
So not only did he potentially lose that fight, but it also didn't do very well. Now, that could be attributed to Francis Ngannou. That could be attributed to the fact that everybody just thought Fury was going to win. We don't know, but those are the numbers.
Yeah, there was lots of things. It was a day card. It was, the Saudi crowd, I don't think really cared about the pay-per-view numbers. It was more about the spectacle for them. But anyway, I just had to give some love to my boy Francis Ngannou right there. But I think Floyd is spot on in the sense that those are the biggest stars. And so, I can understand why boxing fans would hear that and go, it's sort of, you know what it sort of reminds me of when Dana White was talking about his MMA UFC Mount Rushmore, and he had Conor and he had Ronda, and all the fans were
Right.
like, Conor and Ronda shouldn't be there. They're not that good. What the hell? And
Dude,
it
who
was
it's the
like,
people who
well,
made me the most money, bro.
exactly.
Yeah.
They are the stars.
Yeah.
They're what make the sport move. They're what make this sport possible.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think star power isn't just pay-per-view, even though it's obviously an
yeah,
important facet of it. But I mean, it is people, it's the fighters who sort of are ushering in new fans too. Like
exactly.
ushering in like actually growing the sport. And so
Exactly.
if you want to look at it from that perspective, I mean, I think Terrence Crawford is incredible. He is probably the best boxer in the world, pound for pound. He probably is. But is he growing the sport the same way that Canelo is, Ryan Garcia is, and Gervonta Davis is? I don't think he is. And that's not a knock on him. That's just to say that those other three guys are just, there's like a magnetism about them that I think that isn't, you know, it draws in people beyond the sport of boxing. It draws in a more casual fan. Whereas how everybody marketed that fight between Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, that was a boxing fans fight. That wasn't like a
Exactly.
mainstream fight. Yeah, it was. It was obviously a mainstream pay-per-view. It obviously did well, but it was like it was for boxing purists. It was the one boxing fans want to see. Whereas like Ryan and Tank, that's where like the sports fan wanted to see. You know,
Yep.
where Canelo is, he transcends culture in a way. He's like huge in Mexico. So I just think that I just think that Floyd is right. And I understand that why people don't agree with it from a boxing sense. But I think Floyd is right from a draw sense, from a marketability sense. 100%.
I know something other people were wondering is that since Floyd and Ryan are hanging out, Ryan Garcia are hanging out, if Floyd is going to try to convince him to come sign with TMT. I know that there was some sort of trouble in paradise between Oscar De La Hoya and Ryan Garcia. It would be unfortunate if that there was some sort of split there. I hope it doesn't happen. But if you're gonna sign with somebody, TMT is a pretty good team to sign with. And they were doing road work together too. I know that wasn't
Yeah.
the part that went viral, but that as a fan of the sport, and it
Well,
was cool seeing them do road work together.
they kind of both went viral. I think that seeing them jogging together, they were jogging to what you're referring to is they were jogging together at 3 a.m. last night in Las Vegas. And I just want to mention that was actually so Cap, our reporter and executive producer Andrew Capucetti sent me that footage at like 4 a.m. last night. And he told me that was legit. That wasn't like a staged photo op. That was a legit thing that they were doing. And a lot of people were obviously making comments like Oscar must be, cringing as he watches this. Yeah, there is some issues with Ryan and Oscar, but we are close with both of them, with both Ryan and Oscar. And, Oscar genuinely cares about Ryan. It's clear. I know that a lot of people sort of have some opinions on that. I don't think Ryan is necessarily thinking of switching over to Money Team. I don't know if that's what this is. I just think that Ryan needs he's outsourcing some perspective. He's growing as a man and he's sort of crowdfunding some advice and some perspective in the boxing scene because he's sort of been in this golden boy bubble for a long time where I think that this is actually healthy. Where it's just he's
Yeah.
sort of going around and like looking at everybody else. Like he's not only, he's grew up with Oscar, but he's also spending time with Floyd. He's getting tutelage from Errol Spence's coach, Derek James. He's been through 3 coaches now. So I think Ryan is genuinely just trying to find his place and the type of fighter that he wants to be, because I think that everybody knows that the talent is there. How do you fulfill the talent? How do you see this through? How do you really what's the word? Maximize your talent. Well, you got to kind of like talk to everybody a little bit, everybody who's had success. I think that's what's happening. But I have seen the comments. I do find it funny, but I think things are going to be okay with Golden Boy. That's my hunch. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you're right. I think it's good that he's branching out. I've said this before. I like it when fighters sort of branch out, get different looks, different perspectives. Ryan's a young man with a lot of money and a lot of fame. So, Floyd Mayweather is a good man to talk to, who's done it before him.
Yeah.
So, it's cool to see. My question is, Floyd and Ryan probably set the alarm and woke up at 3:30 and got themselves ready to go jog at 4 a.m. But our man in the streets, Cap, was probably in the casinos, and then
Oh,
someone
yeah.
texted him like, "Oh,
Let me
get
just
off the
say,
roulette tables. They're gonna go jogging."
let me just say, I hope to God that it was like that or that it wasn't like that. I hope that he was just with those guys, because any chance that they can keep him away from the casino tables is a good thing for Andrew Capucetti and his pocketbook. And I know this from personal knowledge. So, that being said, another big announcement that was made on New Year's Eve. It was supposed to be New Year's Day, but I guess he got blue balls and just couldn't wait. Conor McGregor announces the big news that he's fighting Michael Chandler at International Fight Week, June 29th in Las Vegas. And he will be fighting. Now, this is the part that trips me out. I don't know if it's legit or not. I don't know if he's just joking around, but he did his little evil laugh at the end of his announcement video and said that they will be fighting at 185 pounds in middleweight. I believe it, because Conor wants to set records, and he's already fought in 3 divisions. Conor has tweeted before that he wants to fight at middleweight one day. That is a thing that he's actually wanted to do. And how do you do it? Well, you don't fight a middleweight. You fight a guy at your
another
weight
lightweight,
and force them up to lightweight. And Conor's been bulking up in his time since his injury. This is actually brilliant. If they are going to fight at 185, I love it. I'll tell you why, but I want to know what you think about it.
I will believe it when it happens. I love Conor. I don't want to be so skeptical, but I am waiting for Dana White to announce it. Has Dana White said anything about this?
Not a
No,
word.
Not a word. So that's what I'm saying. I'm holding off. I think he's messing with Michael Chandler because it's really easy for him to do. That clip from The Ultimate Fighter where he's like, "You'll do what you're told," after saying he'll fight at 185. So I want it to be true. I just don't know if it is. I'm not going to hold my breath. I would not be surprised if this doesn't actually come to fruition. But if it does happen, I doubt it happens at 185. I could see it happening at welterweight because Conor did fight Cowboy Cerrone at welterweight. So
did he not fight Nate at lightweight, at welterweight? It
was did.
Okay, but that was because was it a catch weight? Is that why?
Yeah, Nate filled in the first time. Nate
for
filled
RDA.
in for RDA. Yeah, actually, in that fight, because that was during a time when Conor had been recently cutting to featherweight, so he actually didn't even hit 170 for the first fight. I think Conor was 168. So it just goes to show how much the dude has bulked up since then. Because you just a picture right now, Conor hitting 168. If he was going to fight at welterweight, there's no way.
Yeah, no.
If he was going to fight at welterweight, he'd be cutting some decent weight.
Yeah. So I understand why you're skeptical. I think it's happening. And for a few reasons why. I think Conor McGregor genuinely is like a different kind of athlete. I think that his rise to success in the sport of MMA was unrivaled by anybody else. He's the first guy to ever win a belt at multiple weight classes, and he did it legitimately.
Simultaneously.
He didn't, to a double champ. He did it legitimately too. It was not like a thing sort of fell into the right place for him. I mean, it was a legitimate double champ status. And yeah, he obviously didn't have to fight RDA. Yeah, some things, every fighter has things fall their way, but it was legitimate double champ. And he sort of set the tone for what everybody wants to do now, which is become a double champ. I mean, Volk is trying it. Everybody and their mother wants to be a double champ nowadays. It's kind
of a little bit crazy.
It's obnoxious.
Going a little bit crazy.
Conor, I don't think he knows what to do with himself if he's not competing. And it's sort of evident made by his sort of like off the field behavior, so to speak, things that he does on his days off, his weird voice notes on Twitter, just all the weird stuff that he does. I genuinely think that like Conor is a true like athletic marvel. And I know that he's maybe not like what he once was, but he is a true competitor, and he's a game changer. He's like a Michael Jordan of his sport. Michael Jordan needed to go do other things before he could come back and feel good about competing again. You know, you kind of need to see the world a little bit. So like Ryan Garcia, he needed to see the world a little bit, see other things a little bit, and then come back. I think that's what happened with Conor a little bit. I think that the injury was kind of a good opportunity for him to do that. And, you know, his businesses and his money, and everybody thinks that he's sort of lost touch. I think Conor is as competitive as he's ever been. I think he's a unique creature. And I think, does that mean he's going to win? No, it doesn't mean he's going to win. It doesn't mean he's going to ever go on a title run again. But I 100% think the fight is happening. I 100% think we see Conor again. I think people who say that we're not going to see Conor again are crazy. Conor will fight again. It's going to happen. I don't know in what capacity, but we're going to see it again. So that's my take.
Well, I will say this. Everyone's talking about who gets the next lightweight title shot. Should it be Gaethje? Should it be Oliveira? Should it be Arman Tsarukyan? If Conor McGregor beats Michael Chandler, he's getting a title shot.
I 100% agree. I think there's a chance
he's going to fight Islam Makhachev.
I've been saying this. Dana talks about how there's like a super fight that he's working out. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the Chandler fight's not happening and it's actually him and Makhachev, but that's like a whole other just like financial thing that a conspiracy theory that I have. But speaking of Conor, we're running out of time here. Conor did comment on our Instagram earlier today of a post of Sean Strickland getting emotional on the Theo Vaughn podcast. Everybody's probably seen this clip at this point. Sean Strickland getting emotional, talking about child abuse that he suffered as a kid at the hands of his father and how it affected his grades in school, how it affected his belief in God, how it affected just his upbringing and his perspective on the world. I can relate. I've been through some harsh things in my life. So I really identified with this. Like I felt for Sean Strickland. And Conor McGregor, you know, commented, I want to read this out because this is actually awesome. I mean, to see this on our Instagram page was really, really cool. Conor said, sorry, I should have had this queued up.
Keep your head up.
2 G's, 100. Fight on, gentlemen, fight on. Pretty fucking awesome to see Conor McGregor say that. And I think that the MMA community is pretty much aligned and united on it. Some people are talking shit about Strickland for, you know, acting tough and then crying on a podcast. I think that this is what makes him a good fighter. I think that this is what he channels and is sort of what he brings to the table, is that he fights for this reason. A lot of people fight for different reasons. This is the reason Sean Strickland fights, and I respect it. So,
yeah, I agree. It was really cool seeing Conor throw him some support there. You know, obviously he has respect. Maybe if Conor is planning on fighting at middleweight, this is all part of his Machiavellian schemes that he's going to fight Sean Strickland at middleweight. Because that'd be, of all the fights at middleweight, I don't think there are very, very many good ones for Conor, but that one would at least be fun, right?
That would be, because it's not a guy who can really knock him out. I mean, he could,
right.
Obviously, but it's like it's less likely. You know, 33% finish rate or something like that. So yeah, it's not.
And you know that they're gonna be standing up and they're gonna be boxing. Mostly,
and
so
the press conference would be world class.
That'd be amazing. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was cool seeing Conor throw support. It's interesting seeing the reactions from different fans. I know Ian Gary, Conor's fellow Irishman, he chimed in. He, you know, fired back. He was like, "Oh, you're talking all this trash about my wife, and here you are."
Yeah, I'll put his comment up on the screen. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'll put what.
Yeah, basically, he was like, "You're projecting, and whatever you talking shit about me is because you've got shit going on." And I think,
yeah, well, he said you don't. He said that because Sean made a comment about how you don't talk about people's marriages, and then Ian Gary was like, "Dude, you've literally been harassing my wife." So I think that that's kind of a legitimate argument, to be honest.
Yeah, and you know, he did say stuff about project. It reminded me a little bit of your interview with Cody Brundage, where Cody was like, "Sean's an amazing fighter, but you know, why is he talking about other people's lives?"
He said, you know, "I think Sean is an amazing fighter, and I also think he's a total douche."
He's a total douche, yeah. But yeah, you know, Sean probably didn't want to cry in that situation, but you know, I think one of the things people were saying was like Ian Gary made his choices, and the people that Sean Strickland, they made their choices as adult, whereas what happened to Sean, he was a kid, he didn't really have a choice, so it's not the same thing, you know.
Yeah, I think it's more so my sympathy with Gary is only with
Because
him
he did say,
saying,
"You
"Hey,
don't
you
talk
said
about
that you
wives
shouldn't
and
talk about
kids."
people's wives. You talked about my wife." And you
Yeah.
also talked about Sean O'Malley's wife. Like, he didn't say that, but I think like Strickland might have a little bit of a blind spot there. I think that there's some mental gymnastics and some argumentative gymnastics you can do to say why what Strickland was doing was different than what some other guys do. I still think it falls into the same category. You know, you're still talking about somebody's wife. So he has a point.
Yeah, you know, at the end of the day, these are fighters. They're punching
Yeah.
each other in the face up. You know,
Yeah, I want to see
words
them
are
fight.
never
I do want to
going-
see Strickland and Gary fight. That'd be dope. I would be down with that.
And then the question becomes, who does Conor support? Because Conor gave his support to Sean on our Instagram page.
I still
but-
think he'd go with Ian Gary. I still think he
Yeah,
would.
fellow
Yeah.
Irishman, that
I
Irish
think
bond.
so.
Yeah, we
So-
all go to war when one of us goes to war.
Let me tell you something about Andrew. This is my boy right here. You disrespect him, you're disrespecting me.
Inside fighting, Sean's inside fighting.